All right. Here we go. I think we're live.
Let me see. Put it on the subscription.
I think we live.
Hasn't. Okay, there it goes.
I think we live.
Yeah, so. Hasn't. Okay, there it goes. We got 2 likes
I
right
hear
here.
you talking.
Yeah, so. Hasn't. Okay, there it goes. We got 2 likes right
I hear you talking.
here. I could hear it, so that's good. I'll post it.
Man, that stupid 6-liter went all kinds of sideways.
The one you were working on today.
Well, the one that it was a no start yesterday, and yeah, the one today. So normally when I have a 6-liter, I learned a long time ago. I just pull valve covers if I'm not building 500 pounds of cranking oil pressure. What's up, A. Murray? I automatically recommend pull valve covers and air checking because 99% of the time it's standpipes or dummy plugs. That's just how it is. It's almost always that. Well, I had already wired up for that. I was hella busy. And so I went out. I did a quick check. All right, cool. It's only building 270 pounds of oil pressure. We got to do an air check. Valve covers need to come off, whatever. So I turned it in. I wrote it up, turned it in. I jumped back on something I had to finish. And this morning I was talking to my service writer, and I was like, I was sitting there talking to him. I was like, we just did injectors in this thing like 7 months ago. And I mean, the chances of it being a standpipe or dummy plug are not likely. So let's just, if that's the case, then we're looking at more like an IPR. So what's up, Ag Tech? And so I totally went around it the wrong way because of we had just put the parts in. And there's no way a motorcraft part failed in 7 months,
Yeah.
And lately I've been getting these Chinese and standard standpipes and dummy plug specs because they keep telling me that motorcraft isn't available. And so I'll be a son of a bitch after 7 hours of teardown and diag and end up being a stupid standpipe. And so I went in and I told my manager, I said, hey man, I said, if you can find like 3 or 4 sets of standpipes and dummy plugs from Ford, order them. We'll put them on the shelf and we have them. So that way, if we do the job, we have it, we put it in the car, and then we just restock. That way we're not having to deal with this Chinese crap. Because, I mean, this whole thing went sideways all because of I trusted the part that I thought was good, and it ended up being the part that was bad. So
that happens way too often. It was like, it can't be. It's brand new. It happens. Like, okay, so I posted a while back on a F-150. It had been... Okay, so it had actually, my boss is the one who originally started with that car, and it was basically an intermittent no crank no start. So I don't know. I never texted boss because like, hey, change this battery cable out. All right, cool, whatever. Change it out, ship it. They had to take it to another shop because they got stranded somewhere, and it was a close shop to them, and they put some other stuff that they changed some fuses, they changed some relays, they changed the starter, and all this
Parts
stuff.
cannon.
Pretty much, yeah. So then it came in. Then it eventually came back to shop because I had, they said vibration issue. It had a vibration issue, but it was basically just an engine misfire. But they wrote up as a vibration issue. Cylinder 4 misfire. I think I posted it on my Instagram. It was basically the intake was broken and was leaking coolant into the cylinder 4. Yeah. Coiled bad. Well, they wrote up on the ticket, intermittent, no crank, no start, if I can duplicate it. And the customer told the service advisor, like, it doesn't start, but sometimes, like, if I shift it up and hard down, then it'll start. So my boss was like, oh, it has to be a shifter cable.
There's your no crank right there.
That's what they say in the shifter cable. So my boss ordered a shifter cable. Well, number one thing is duplicate your problem, right? Like, duplicate the concern. I can never get it to duplicate. So I told my boss, I was like, hey, I'm going to say no to this no crank, no start. I can't duplicate the problem. He's like, what did the customer say? Every time he moves the shifter cable, it'll start. I was like, okay, I'm not going to throw a shifter cable at because I can't duplicate the problem. I was like, if you want to throw
the switch too.
The ignition switch, it could be anything else,
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, so if you want to put the shifter cable on, I was like, it's there, you can have it. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do the misfire, whatever. I do the whole job, and then it actually didn't crank. It finally did the no crank, no start. So I'm going in circles because it has a new starter, it has new relays, it has. So I'm chasing my tail, and it was the starter the whole time, you know. But my boss had already threw a shifter cable at it, and I knew from the get that's not the problem. Because during the crank no start, I would hit the shifter, I would change it, and it wouldn't start. Like I literally had no power, and I was like, well, it can't be the starter. The starter's new, and you look at the starter, it looks brand new. I was like, it can't be the starter, and I'm looking at wiring diagrams, checking the ignition switch and stuff like that, make sure I have my power and grounds, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm already like 2 hours into this, and I'm like, crap, what the hell? And I was just like, you know what? I was like, it has to be the starter. Like I'm not getting power to the starter. I'm not getting a signal to the starter. And I crawl underneath, and I told my boss, I was like, hey, crank it for me. I'm gonna wiggle these wires at the starter. And it fired right up. I was like, give me a fucking starter, dude. Like,
was the connection on the starter loose?
Yeah, I posted a video, like the actual solenoid. It was like,
yeah.
So I was just like, man, like I spent all this time, and I was like, oh, y'all got to give me my diag time because I spent. And the service provider is like, well, I already paid you a lot for a big job. I was like, I don't care. I was like, give me my diag time, give me the starter time. Like, I'm running in circles because it was just bad. You know what I mean?
All right. So first of all, let me grab a beer. I want to chime in on that and say hello to everybody. Let me grab a beer. Hang on.
Antonio, Tool Demos, AgTech. What's up, guys? Murray, A. Murray. Done there. Bad connection on my side or Tony's side?
All right, here we go. Cheers, fellas. Thanks for joining us on this Friday night. All right. So, Antonio, Steve, AgTech, A. Murray, what's happening? All right. So, Dazeni, I know you're new to the flat rate world. Always feel free to reach out to me if you ever have a question, but I'm going to tell you how to proceed on those types of situations. All right, I got a nice backdrop, fellas. It's my newest addition to the garage that is just a storage unit, pretty much. Mrs. Nuts came up with this idea to put a backdrop up, and so it's a black curtain that I can roll up and keep out of the way, and then drop down when I record my videos, so there's not like a crappy ass background. But anyways, all right. So Dazeni just started on flat rate. So this is how you proceed with flat rate. Remember this one thing. Unless it's on the work order, you're not getting paid. All right? So don't worry about what your boss says, what the service writer says. If it's not on the work order, you're not getting paid. So what you got to do is you got to make sure that before you start anything, before you touch anything, before you do anything, you find out if you're getting paid. Now, if you looked at it, you threw parts at it, you diagged it, whatever. Okay, it's kind of on you. You're eating it.
Yeah.
In this situation, your boss told you to do something, whatever, it doesn't matter. If the service writer threw shit at it, it doesn't matter. Before you start, you need to make sure that you talk to them about diag time.
Well, see, they were originally going to give me an hour.
This is a long ass time of I've been doing this for a really long time. And I've been shitted out of a lot of time. And so now I'll get service writers that will say to me, so I have certain service writers that I've worked with for like a long time, and they just know. They just give me a work order. They don't fuck around with me. They don't mess around. They pay me because they know. But I have other service writers that go, what, you don't trust me? No. I've been doing this for a long time. I know better. I want the work order so that way in the end, no one can argue. Now, the shop I work at right now is a lot different because all I have to do is go in the office and say, hey, he said he was going to pay me for an hour and he didn't put it on there. And they'll say, okay, 1 hour for you. Thank you. And there's no question. But in the past, I've worked at shops like where you work right now, where you do have to talk to somebody and they do have to say, okay. So make sure that you clarify in the beginning your time. If you go in and you start looking at something, you've spent your hour. Oh, what's up, Tyler? You've spent your hour or whatever And now you're at a point where you need to spend more time. You need to go in more intrusive testing. Now you're having to back probe wires and, you have an intermittent concern, right? So for me, an intermittent concern, hey, man, I need like 2 hours. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take me to duplicate the problem. And when I do, I have to be able to split second, be able to figure out where and how and what I'm going to test. And I'm going to test it while it's acting up. Or I'm going to go into that and I'm going to start looking at that. So that way, when it does act up, hopefully I picked the right route. So just make sure that you don't screw yourself that way. Yeah, but and that takes time. That takes experience. That takes, sometimes having a big network of people to ask if you have some weird ass problem. Hey, what do you guys think? Oh, I think, okay, cool. All right, everybody kind of narrowed it down to it's probably the ignition switch. So I'm going to go monitor the V power at the ignition switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that you cover your time up front, because it's going to screw you in the end. And you're going to end up getting bit when you feel you should get paid and they don't want to pay you because they're not making money. When they already lost money because somebody threw parts at it and it wasn't you. This is going to be I hope not, but for the most part, this is a road that most technicians go down of I should be getting paid, well, I'm not paying you. And then you're at a crossroads, like, well, shit, what do I do? Like, I've got 3 hours in this car, and you talk about it up front. Hey, man, like me, I'll look at something and I'll spend my hour, whatever. And I'm at a point where I'll go in and go, hey, man, I'm probably going to spend a couple hours looking at this. Like, what do you want to do about the time? And then I'll take care of you. Okay, cool. Well, in the end, I'm going to get paid. If they, so you want to have that conversation up front. But this is a new world for you. So I'm happy to offer advice, and, feel free to reach out to other guys. I don't want you to get screwed of time and also, kind of where you're at. You're happy.
No, yeah. So originally they had the 1 hour for the no start, but I had told them, I was like, well, I'm not gonna. I was like, well, I'm not. I can't duplicate the problem. I can't check it. So that's where it is. Well, when it happened, I told him, and that's when Sarah was like, well, okay, well, there's an hour, and I spent like 2 hours, and I told my boss, I was like, hey, this is more than an hour, and he's like, okay, well, I'll let Mary know. And so then when it came down, I was like, hey, order me a starter. And then I was like, I need 2 hours for diag time because I spent 2 hours. And she was like, well, you're getting a time for the starter and you're getting an hour. I was like, no, give me my 2 hours and my time for the starter. I was like, y'all had me going in circles and stuff because all these parts thrown at it. And then I don't know if you remember the Camaro. 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
there was a Camaro. No, it wasn't a side work. It was at the shop. It was for the shop.
Oh, the one with the lights on the dash with all the funky ass wiring.
Yeah, with the wire nuts as for So
yeah.
It came in. The guy said been to a couple shops. They couldn't get it to start. I was like, okay. And first it's a no crank, no start, dead battery. Get it? Crank, no start. Figure out I don't have spark, and I was like, okay, why don't have I sparked? I'm looking at all these wires, and I'm just like, okay, this is a mess. So I went and I told him, I was like, hey, I need at least 4 hours for this car. And I was really hoping they declined it. And I guess I'm kind of glad they didn't. I was able to figure it out. I got it fixed. And even upsold a water pump on it. Still didn't want to touch it, but it was one of those cars like, I don't want to touch this, because you touch a car, it's like you're married to it. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And it's like, so I told him 4 hours. I fixed the wiring, finally got it started, and then it would stop. There was an ignition short at that ended up being at the crank sensor. So I had to go tell. I was like, hey, I need another hour to find out where the short is on the crank sensor, and for wire repair to fix it. And she was like, well, I already gave you 4 hours. I was like, give me another hour. She's like, well, I don't know, talk to Manuel, which is my boss. I went to talk to my boss. So he had to go and was like, give him his hour. Like, you know what I mean? So right. That's where I've been having problems. Like last week, I had a Volkswagen Jetta. I did the water pump on it. back in October, and it came back for a coolant leak. So I was like, okay, well, and it had a hairline crack in the part, and it wasn't a part that was nowhere near where you tie in a fastener. It was in a weird spot. So I had that. That was taking on my bay for 3 days, and I told my boss, I was like, "Well, y'all gonna have to pay me warranty time." And he's like, "I don't know. We're having to eat it." I was like, "You got to pay me something." I was like, "I spent a lot of time on that." I ended up getting like 3 hours out of it, but I was just like, so I am kind of having trouble with like the warranty issues. Like right now, Land Rover, I did the transmission and stuff, and I actually did the hub bearing back in December or maybe November. It wasn't too long. Land Rover never left the shop. Hub bearing's bad, so that one, I guess I don't know if I had to eat it. I don't know if it's under warranty. I don't know. I don't know how it messed up. I don't know if it was operator error or just a pure trash bearing that.
Do you use a torque wrench?
I torqued the axle nut, yes.
Okay.
So
yeah, man, it's I want to say, hey, Bill Beckett, hope you're feeling well, man. Happy to see you here. So warranty. All right. So for my first, I was at a shop for 6 years. My first flat rate shop for 6 years, and I live in California, so it was complete flat rate, and I didn't get paid if the shop didn't get paid. So now my flat rate was a really good wage, but it worked like this. So let's say a customer brings their car in for a check engine light, right? And or a no start, rough running. It doesn't matter. And if I told them I can't diagnose it, then the shop didn't charge them and I didn't get paid. So you can better believe that I learned how to figure out what was most likely the cause 99% of the time. Maybe not 99% of the time, but probably 97% of the
time. High percentage.
I would figure out, what's up, Renegade Garage? I would come up now. Now the times when I wouldn't guess, well, not guess, it's a logical guess, but it was when there was two options and one was expensive and so was the other. Well, at that point, we would have to call it like hey, this is where we're at. But most of the time, you got a Ford, intermittent no start, man, it needs fuel pump. You know what I mean? So I learned to figure out what was wrong with cars, even though they weren't acting up at the time. But here's a funny story when you talk about warranty. So I had a truck one time. I put 11 starters in this truck because they kept failing. They were either shitty out of the box or they just kept failing. I got paid for one starter. Right now this was back in the day when I didn't have any experience and I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have a voice and and I didn't have anybody to talk to find out like what was right and what was wrong. Like now with this wonderful tool community online, like you're just in flat rate right now. Even if you hadn't been, you can go online and reach out to other mechanics and kind of get an idea of, how things are supposed to work, right? So you don't get screwed. That same truck, I put like 10 carburetors on it before we finally got one that worked. I got paid for one. So I mean, that's kind of the shitty, world that I grew up in the industry, was where I didn't get paid for warranty time. But it's a tough road. Warranty is at most shops, most small businesses. See, I work at a shop right now where we, up until just a couple weeks ago, counting me, we had 9 techs. So, I mean, the shop I work at right now is big as hell. Like way bigger than any shop I've ever worked at. I feel like I'm working at a dealership, compared to other shops where maybe there were like, 3 or 4 other guys. I mean, imagine you work with a shop with 9 techs total. That's a lot of freaking cars coming in and out.
Yeah.
And paying somebody an hour for something isn't a big deal. It's not like you don't have to go fight for it. Like, hey, you said he was gonna pay me an hour. Okay, cool. An hour. There you go. Thank you. They don't even ask anybody. It's like, cool. But so it's a tough road, the warranty world. Talk about it up front. If you use a torque wrench, things like that. I had a CRV at the same shop that I was at. I had a CRV that It had a bad valve seat, and it had a misfire. And pulled the head off, sent it to the machine shop, got it fixed. Everything was fine. Daughter drove it down to LA, and it was in a shop for a blown head gasket. And so my boss goes down and picks it up, drives all the way down there, picks it up, brings it all the way back, and brings it back. And I check it out, and sure enough, it's a blown head gasket. It's got coolant in the oil and everything. So I pull the head off, and before I did, I had the service writer watch, and I showed him the head bolt torque, that they were all torqued to spec. Sent the head out to the machine shop, and when it came time to get paid, he's like, why would I pay you? You fucked up the head. Why would I pay you for that? I was like, dude, I torqued it to spec. Like, it's not my fault. If the head gasket failed, if, something happened, it's not my fault. Well, he ended up paying me for it, but he did not want to. And then 2 weeks later, another Honda that we had done heads on around that same time came back with a blown head gasket. The machine shop had a fucked up jig in their shop, and so when they were racking up the heads, they weren't
machining them properly.
They weren't machining them properly because they weren't secured properly, and so they were screwing up the heads. And but just a crazy situation that I had to deal with. So it's kind of a shitty thing, but you want to talk about warranty stuff up front. When you diagnose a vehicle and you get an hour to look at something, you write it up for I duplicated it or I didn't. This is where I need to go. I need 2 more hours to check it out. Here's my paperwork. And then when you get a work order back saying here's 2 more hours to look at it, I mean, it all depends on how your shop goes and how it works. Like for us, we get a work order, we turn the work order and notes back in, and then we get a work order back and we continue. At other shops, it's been more sometimes just word of mouth, like, hey, it needs this. Okay, cool, go ahead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this kind of depends, but you want to talk about that stuff up front. If you use a torque wrench to torque a water pump, hey man, I torqued it with my torque wrench. Like my torque wrench is good. Water pump's leaking. It's not my tool. I use a torque wrench, or stuff like that, just to help cover your ass so you don't have to fight for your money.
Yeah. So that was the first thing that my boss asked on that water. He's like, "What'd you use?" I was like, "A torque wrench." Unlike you, I torque my shit. Okay, so like since I started, like I've always torqued everything. Especially lug nuts. Lug nuts is like the one thing I've never ever not torqued. Like I'll never not torque a lug nut. That's just
that's funny because when I started, so I came out of school and I started at a shop, right? And I'm working at a shop and I'm going to school 4 hours a day and I'm working there 4 hours a day. And the owner comes over and I'm torquing wheels, right? And he's like, you don't really need to torque lug nuts. I was like, yeah, you do. You don't want uneven torquing, right? I don't want to warp the rotor, because this is what I was learning in school. And he's like, well, so you're not going to warp the rotors from impacting a rotor on a wheel on. You're going to warp the rotors from uneven torquing, right? So if you tighten one lug nut down and not the other, and I'm like, okay. He's like, I'm not. And then he told me, he's like, he was an old guy, old timer, been doing this for a long ass time. He's like, hey, I'm not telling you not to torque it. I'm only telling you you don't need to torque it. I was like, but he's like, if you feel comfortable torquing it, knock yourself out. I was like, all right. And so I stopped torquing lug nuts. I just hit them all the same, They were the same ugga-duggas, right? I never had a problem ever. I worked for years like that. Now, I torqued intakes and all that other crap, but I never torqued lug nuts. And it wasn't until one day, this one guy in the shop all of a sudden wasn't there. And the boss was like, hey, man, go wrap up that truck that Terry was working on. I was like, where's Terry? Just go wrap it up. I was like, okay. I guess he left he left a wheel loose and it fell off of a car. And so then after that, they were like, we're torquing all lug nuts. And so then I think kind of like after that, I kind of torqued them for a while and then we didn't. And then I went to work for a company that like mandatory had to torque them, and I've been torquing them ever since. But
there's a saying: it only takes 1,000 times to do something wrong before something goes bad.
True.
So I worked at Discount Tire for like two years. So that's where I got a lot of my like tire knowledge and learning to, because being at Discount Tire, we experienced wheel offs,
Right.
and you just get yourself in a big lawsuit and a big, like, it's just something you don't want to be in. I've seen guys like get dragged through the mud for that, and it actually happened because I was a service coordinator, so I was in charge of a group of techs, making sure that they torqued the lug nuts. And we document like who torqued the lug nuts.
Right.
And one of the vehicles we worked on had a wheel off. And luckily, I guess I never heard too much about it. My the technician, my friend, who was the one that torqued, he got suspended for like 2 weeks. But I guess the company kind of took care of it or whatever else that happened. We didn't really hear too much, but it could become a really big issue, and you can get sued a lot of money. And then of course someone could die. Yeah. So it's just one of those things.
That'll
like,
shut a shop down.
Yeah, just save your ass, man. Like, just that's how I've always seen it. And like, I've actually had very close to one of my friends. He came over to my house. He's like, he bought some wheels for my buddy, so I had the wheels for him, and he came over to my house and we put them on, and we got distracted, and I just ran him down with the impact, and we got distracted. We're talking. I was like, all right, let's go eat. We're driving, get on the highway. He calls me. He's like, hey, bro. He's like, man, I heard something like blah, 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 blah. I was like, shoot, let's pull over, man. And 2 lug nuts already came off, man. I was like, oh my gosh, like, dude, I was sweating. I was like,
away?
Well, the thing was, like, I just ran them down. I didn't torque them. I always
right.
like, if I use the impacts running, I just run them down, hand tight, finger tight, so the wheels flushed, and then I always torque them. But got distracted, didn't torque it, and I almost had my buddy's wheel come off. So I'm very, very good at like.
I always torque wheels now, but I give it Doug. Like, if it's like a Honda or like a smaller vehicle, I'll give it like the normal Ugga-Duggas. But if it's a truck, I will let it go. I will just make sure that it's done Ugga-Dugga before I stop, because it's not going to be done. I'm going to have to torque it more. So, but yeah, So hey, I want to say Big Puppy Tools in the house, all the way from Australia.
I subscribe to a channel which blasts a flat rate system. What channel is that, Bill?
So the flat rate system is not bad. I actually wonder all the time why California. So California went away from flat rate. You cannot work flat rate in California. So we work in most shops that I've been in. They have so when I started, it was flat rate, right? So I worked in a shop. I was going to school and working in a shop. And I worked 4 hours a day and went to school 4 hours a day. And when I got done with school, I found a shop, and it was a complete flat rate, full flat rate, 40% flat rate. And so I got 40% of the shop rate per hour, period. I was really nervous about going from in school at working on one car at a time at the shop I was at to going to a flat rate shop. And I was driving like an hour to get to work because I was going to move to Sacramento, which was like an hour from where I lived. So it was going to be tough. And I was really nervous. And my friend told me, like, I was going to take the job, but I was like kind of leery. And he's like, dude, for real, I'm not even lying to you. If you don't take that job, I'm going to physically kick your ass. Like, you need to take this job. This is something you need. I was like, I know, I'm just nervous. Well, my first check, I made $26.32 an hour. I'll never forget that number ever in my life because it was the scariest time of my life. I was still living with my parents, but I mean, still, like, I made a huge commitment to go and work. Like, I made $26.32 an hour on my very first paycheck as a flat rate tech. So I was really excited because this was 18 years ago. So this is a long time ago. But
That was a lot of money back then.
And I went from making $16 an hour at my old shop to my first check being $26.32. And so my old shop where I worked, you know, I would get one car at a time. One car at a time. That's it. And I went to the new shop, and my first day I got 5 cars at 8:30 in the morning. And I was like, holy shit. Like, it was like an oil change, a check engine light, a coolant leak, like all kinds of crap at one time. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even know what to do with this many cars. Like, I work on one car at a time where I was at, you know. And so, but yeah, I mean, so it was a long road for me. But I mean, flat rate is what you make of it. I mean, if you suck, then you should not be working as a mechanic, first of all.
See, I think it's not bad. Since I've been flat rate, my workflow has not changed. Like, nothing's changed. Like, since I started out hourly, obviously. But since I've started working on cars, every job I always look, how much does it pay? And I time myself. To this day, I always time myself on every job, just because I'm racing myself against the clock. And I've done that. My workflow has not changed since I've been flat rate. And it's just because I have the do it once and do it once. Like, get it in, get it out. Either I'll break even or I beat my time. And if I just so happen to lose that time, I can make it up in another job. Like, it's just one of those, you win some, you lose some. You know, I can get a really good 10-hour, 14-hour job and I can knock it out in 2 hours. And then I can get like a 3-hour job and it might take me 5 hours. You know what I mean? Well, the time I gained from the other job will make up for those 2 hours. That's how I've always seen it. So my workflow has not changed. But it's just, I think the shop I'm in, we get nothing but we get a lot of heavy line work. And within these last 2 weeks, that's kind of kicked my ass, like flagging more hours than I want. It's just because things are just, oh, gotta do this. Now I need this. Now I need this. You know what I mean? When you have a lineup of big jobs, it's just like, I only have so many bays. And you keep them in a circle, like I work on this car, then I work on this car and this car, and eventually y'all just come out. But it's like, well, this one is doing this, now it's doing this, so now I gotta, you know what I mean? It's just
right.
It's just like the Land Rover. Right. I did a transmission, got it done. Hub bearing's bad. Fuck. Like, nothing wants to leave. So my last 2 weeks, I've been getting pissed.
All right, so here's a few things I got to say to you. Now, take this from a veteran. Now, this is something that somebody told me on day one of working flat rate. And I swear to God, to this day, I can tell you it is the best thing I've ever done. And I have always lived by this motto since he told me this. Don't look at your time. Don't think about your time. Don't look at your hours. Don't try to figure out where you're at. And don't try to see if you're beating your time or not. Here's why. All right. So you're going to go to work on Monday morning, and you're going to report to work on Monday morning, and you're going to take whatever cars they give you. And you're going to do those cars in however fast you can. Okay? And then you're going to get a heavy line job, and you're going to do that in however fast you can. And so 2 weeks go by. You get paid 2 weeks, you get paid half the month, whatever. It doesn't matter. Once a week, whatever it is, however you get paid. Okay? That time goes by. You're going to get paid however many hours that you earned, regardless of what you think you should get paid. If you look at it, if you think about it, you're going to dwell on it. You can't change it. If you go to work on Monday and you make 3 hours because it was slow or because you spent 3 hours diagnosing a car, because, like, okay, here's an example. I had a Jeep the other day that the description of the car said sometimes hesitation, white smoke out of tailpipe when accelerating. So in my mind, somehow I read that as overheating, white smoke out of tailpipe. So I spent an hour and a half looking at the cooling system.
Injector?
Because, I mean, white smoke out of the tailpipe, that's a blown head gasket, right? That's coolant, right? Well, somehow I looked at the hesitation and everything, and in my head, somehow I made that out to be overheating. So when I went into the office to tell my service writer to explain it, he goes, overheating? What the fuck you talking about? I was like, this is overheating. And white smoke out of the tailpipe. He goes, it's not overheating. I was like, yeah, look right there. Hesitation sometimes. Oh, shit. Wait. Oh, damn. I must have saw white smoke out of the tailpipe, and I thought it said overheating. So I spent an hour and a half block testing this thing and test driving it, looking at the cooling fans and cooling temperature and all that, when it was a misfire all along. It was number 4 coil dropping out. But anyways, so I did this job and I spent, let's say, 2 hours total by the time I looked at it, diagnosed it, wrote it up, inspected it. I got paid for an hour, right? So I look at that car and I'm like, fuck, now I'm down an hour. Oh, man. Well, I wouldn't have done anything different. I couldn't have done anything different. I'm still in the boat I'm in. Now I get a transmission job and it pays 8 hours and it takes me 10 because I had a broken bolt and an exhaust flange that broke and something happened with the driveline. So now I've got 10 hours in an 8-hour job. But wait, I just lost an hour on a diag. So now I'm down. Wait, how many hours? Okay, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many hours you're down. At the end of the pay period, you worked however many hours you worked and you earned however many hours you earned. The only way you can change the outcome is if you're dishonest. So that's the only way you can change the outcome, because you're either going to work your ass off and make a bunch of hours, or you're going to lose your ass and you're going to maybe break even, maybe lose hours, whatever. What happens if it's day 8 of a 10-day pay period and you're like, oh my God, dude, I'm like 16 hours down. Oh my God, what am I going to do? What are you going to do? You have 2 choices. 1, do the same thing you would do every other day, go to work, earn the same amount of hours you're going to earn that day. Or 2, be dishonest, try to cut corners, maybe sell some shit you don't do, try to gain some hours. It doesn't matter. So my point is, somebody told me a long time ago, don't look at your hours, don't look at the time, don't look at whether you beat the time, whether you made the time. Who cares? You made the hours at the end of the pay period you were going to make, and you worked the hours you were going to work. Now, this is for longevity, because I promise you this is going to happen. You're going to have a pay period where you work 40 hours and you make 25, and you're going to be like, fuck. Or you're going to forget about something that you lost your ass on. You're going to forget about 3 hours of downtime. You're going to forget about something, and the pay period is going to go, oh my God. I was not expecting to have 23 hours on this pay period. I was thinking I was going to at least have like 33. There's nothing you can do about it. Just build up a savings. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get that. Like the first week, it was dead, and I worked like 42-hour week, and I only made 25 hours. Shop was dead. There's nothing I can do about that. Take the F-250, the 6.7. I did the remain on upper oil pan. That wasn't even supposed to be my job, but I was caught up with work, and I asked my boss. My boss still had like 4 cars. I was like, hey, I was gonna knock it out last Friday. I was like, I'll get this out. I've done it before. I just watched the video, so I was like, all right, I know exactly what I need to take off right away. I was like, I'll get this shit out ASAP, He's like, if you want to go for it. He's like, I still have 4 cars. I was like, cool. Bro, I had everything out, and like within 3 hours, and I spent a good hour trying to get a rounded boat off. Like, it just didn't want to come off. It was rounded out to begin with. So right. I'm pulling everything out I have in my toolbox, going through my boss's toolbox to pull this bitch out. And, then I had to deal with the broken fucking oil pan bolts in the oil pan, and didn't have any kind of extractor. So, I lost a lot of time on that truck just because it's just problem after problem. There's nothing I can do. Still got like 17 hours out of it. I probably spent like 20 hours on it. You know what I mean? Right. I don't look at it as like, oh, I lost time. I just like, oh, well, like, it's just like, okay, on to the next car. What can I do next? You know what I mean? I just like to time myself just to know, like, hey, you're staying ahead. Or, hey, where did you fuck up that took you this long? And then sometimes, and like I question,
think about it like that. You can't think about it like that.
I feel like you have to.
I'm telling you, man.
Okay,
hey, I've been doing this for a long ass time, and I still have shit where I fuck up on, I lose my ass, whatever.
But even when I was hourly, I did that. Like if I did an alternator and it paid an hour and it took me freaking 3 hours, I'm like, what the hell? Like, why did it take so long? And it's just like, what am I doing wrong?
Like, I'm telling you, you got to try to change that mindset, because that mindset's going to kill you. Because your head's going to be going in circles. I promise. Remember, I've been doing this shit for like 18 years, flat rate and drivability. Like I've been a full diag drivability, diag R&R guy for 18 years. So I was doing failed emissions tests, replacing transmissions, doing tire repairs, all that shit for a long ass time. So it's going to spin you in circles. So my advice to you is to try not to dwell on the time. Now there are times that I time myself just to see how fast I could do something. Like maybe it's something I've done a bunch of times and I want to see. Like one time I was pulling a turbo on a 6-liter and I just wanted to see how fast I can get it off. And I was like, holy shit. Oh my God, I got this thing off so friggin' fast. Like, I don't remember how fast I got it off, but I like put an Instagram thing. I was like, damn, we got this thing off in hella fast. But or like one time I did a warranty job on an intake manifold on an intake that I've done like 75 times. And I had to do it under warranty, like on actual like dealership warranty time, which was 2.1 hours less than book time. And I just wanted to see how fast I could do it. And I did it like right at book time without a test drive. So, but like really, like if I were you, I would try not to look at the time and try not to dwell on the time, because as much as you try not to, it's going to eat you alive and it's going to change your mindset. It's going to fuck your head out. I'm telling you. But anyways, that's just my advice from a long timer. And, ask other people what they think, what they do. I don't look at my hours as the pay period goes by. I don't look at my hours. I don't see where I'm at, because
so you don't ever double check. Like I did this, like I had a car and I put, okay, this was a 14-hour job, and when I went to go cash out and make sure that they were giving me 11 hours. Like whoa. No. I had 14 hours.
That's at the end of the payroll. I print out my payroll paper and I compare their payroll to mine, right? So this, work order 77805 is supposed to be 14.75 hours and it's 13. You guys owe me an hour and 75, whatever. No. What I mean is that I don't look at day 6 of the pay period and think, I'm at, oh God,
20 hours.
I worked 48 hours and I'm at 22. Here's why you can't do that. You got 4 or 5 cars. Maybe you got like multiple cars you diagged, you looked at, you tore down, you had to tear into to inspect, right?
You put that work,
but time that's not accounted for. And come day 6, when you look at the paper, you're like, oh God, I'm at 22 hours. But you don't think about the fact that you have 7 hours of diag and tear down, and you lost 4 hours of slow time or whatever. And so you just really can't go, like at the end of the pay period, I'm just I messaged you the other day. I said, hey, figure out what your low number is and count on that. And when you get a great paycheck, fuck yeah, I got a great paycheck. I could sock away, I could pay something off, I could buy something, whatever. But like count on your low, because that's all you can count on is in flat rate. Now you're going to come to a time where you're going to, let's say your low is here and you're making here consistently. You're going to get there and you're going to be like, let's say maybe your low is $2,000 and you're making $3,400 every pay period. You're going to be like, fuck yeah, making hella money. And then one day though, you're going to make $2,000. So just,
you got to keep it like, you got to, yeah. So I've done that. I was like, I know I need to make this amount Like if I
ETR
can
Garage.
make this much
What's
every
up,
week,
man? Cheers, brother.
I'm good. I guess you do gotta make a point because like let's say last week, right? Last week I tore a bunch of vehicles apart. I checked a bunch of cars,
Right.
but at the end of the week I only had 29 hours, but it's just like, well, damn. Like that's how much I made, but that's just all that was able to get shipped and built. I have cars that are torn, like the Ranger. I have the engine pulled out. I have, the bearings off. I have the Ranger torn.
Paid
The Land
every
Rover.
week or every 2 weeks or what?
I get paid every week. So,
Oh, that's tough. Okay. That's tough.
so
But anyway, so just
it's Saturday through Friday.
So just when you go to work on Monday, right? Just I'm not telling you that my way. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me go get a beer.
Yeah, for sure. What's happening? Let me I wasn't even paying attention to the chat here, fellas. We got in the house, I got to go back a little bit. All right. We were just jiving here, fellas. I haven't even had a chance to check it out. Nuts, bolts, tools. What is happening, brother? Cheers. I know it's not the greatest of beers. It's just an 805. But I like it. It's local. Renegade Garage is in the house. What's happening, brother? Fix It Paul. What is up, Paul? How's it going, man? And the happiest guy on YouTube. This is Wrenching the Bolts. What's up, Josh? I hadn't even noticed you changed your name there. Man, I haven't been on a live stream in a hot minute, fellas. I appreciate
It's been a long time
here. ETR Garage.
How many people are in?
So Nuts Bolts Tools, I got to tell you, man. So my wife and I went to last weekend. The kid had a Nuts Bolts Tools always posts pictures of really, really good beers, right? Really just beers from, not from the grocery store. You know what I mean? And last weekend we had to drop the kid off for his birthday party. He wanted to go to an escape room, and there was a beer place at the right there by there. So we went there. We had some beers and threw some darts, and they had this Pilsner beer, and it was really good. And I had like 2 of them, and I bought a 4-pack before we left. I went to the grocery store a couple nights ago to get some more beer, and they sold it at the grocery store. I was super stoked. Man, it was hella good. I drank the last one a little while ago. So, anyways, Dazeni, I don't want to spend the whole night talking about flat rate, but
yeah.
My advice to you is, and take this like a grain of salt, man. Everybody is their own person, and you have your own mind that you have to deal with, and everybody is different. But just take this from an old timer, from somebody who's been doing this shit for a long ass time, flat rate. If you constantly look at your time and think about it, it's going to eat you up, and you're going to go home on Fridays thinking that you have to bust your ass on side work because where the hell did I didn't make any money, and oh my God, and then you forgot about this, you forgot about that, and you forgot that 2 cars came in and you diagged them, they left, they were coming back next week. I mean, you got to just it's hard to get paid every week, but just try not to focus so much on every job because it will eat you up. I promise. And it longevity wise, it's not good. It's gonna hurt you. And you will eventually be well above that threshold that you set for yourself. But like I said, everybody is different. We all do things differently. We all approach things differently, and we all have to go to work and work on cars differently. We all have a different mindset. So, and everybody is going to be everybody that you talk to, you could talk to 10 flat rate guys, and they'll all might tell you something different. Other people might say, oh man, check your hours every day before you go home so you know what you're coming into tomorrow. Everybody has their own, it's just something that I was taught and it worked for me. And thank God, because I've, in the early days, I did have those days where I got my ass kicked. So, Not very often. I pretty much kicked ass most of my flat rate career, but
So at your shop, you the main diesel guy there, or do you do all the diesels, or do you have
so
another?
we have 3 master techs at my shop. So we had 9 techs at my shop total until just a couple weeks ago. We have 8 right now. We have 3 master techs. One is a 30-year Nissan master tech. So he worked for Nissan for 30 years. So needless to say, he's not a diesel guy. And he doesn't want to be a diesel guy. So then there's me and the other guy. The other guy, we both can work on diesels. We both can work on everything, but he is a Euro guy. Like he knows, he worked in the Euro shop for years, and he knows a lot about Euros. And actually, it's funny because I just asked him not that long ago. I said, hey man, if you had the choice to work on anything, what would you work on? He's like, Euros. I was like, okay, cool. I didn't know if it was like, just something that, like, do you like to work on diesels? And so here was a funny story.
Know?
When he first went to that shop, he went from a Euro shop to that shop, and the shop had just lost their diesel guy. And so he walked into becoming the diesel guy. He didn't want to be the diesel guy, but that's kind of what happened. And so then for years, another guy helped out and stuff. But, I started in, I'm a diesel guy. I can work on Euros too, but, I'm not that great with European cars. That's my least favorite car to work on. So it's like I kind of prefer the diesels and he prefers the Euros. So really, I could be buried and they will try to give me the diesels. So they usually only give him diesels if there's just so much overflow or he has nothing to do. But generally, I get most of the diesels.
You're the diesel guy.
And he gets almost all of the Euros.
So what do you prefer? Do you prefer working on diesels or gas?
I don't know. I mean, I like working on diesels. It's funny because like right now I'm like diesel. Like I have just diesels back to back. Like I had like 2 sprinters in a row, then a 6-liter, then a 5.9, and I like working on everything. If I had to work on nothing but diesels, I think I probably would get burnt out a little bit. Because, I mean, let's face it. I mean, working on diesels, it's hard-ass work, man. It's hard-ass work. I mean, everything is big. Everything is heavy. Everything is hard. I mean,
fucking lifted, compact, so much to take off.
Yeah, and then everybody that drives a diesel truck has a small penis, so their truck's tall as hell. You know what I mean?
Dude. Yeah.
But, no, I'm just kidding. But no, for real, every goddamn diesel is friggin' gigantic and lifted all to hell.
Bro, I live in Texas, and everyone has fucking lifted trucks.
Here comes my little guy right here. My littlest guy. He's
What's
10.
Up? He just had a birthday, right?
Me too.
He just had a birthday, right?
Right here.
Or was that the other one? Who just had a birthday? Who just had a birthday?
The 13-year-old. He had a birthday on January 1st. All right, love you.
Okay.
Me too.
Wow. All right. Now he was our January 1st baby.
Motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I had to work on, I don't want to work on one thing over and over and over again. That's why I never went to work at the dealership. Before I went to work at this shop, I almost went to work at Ford. Ford wanted me to work for them in the fleet department, and I would have the guy told me flat out in the interview. He goes, "I'm not gonna lie to you, man. You're gonna be pretty much working on 6.7s like all day long every day." I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I really want to work on 6.7 like all day every day."
See, I think the thing is you get I wouldn't say burnout. I'd say bored.
Bored, yeah.
Okay. I have a buddy, right? He works for Kia or something like that. And I guess when you become a dealer, it's like you work on something so much and you're on flat rate it gets so repetitive. I mean, you're doing a 14-hour job, upper oil pan. You could probably do them in 2 hours. Boom, boom. You know you're good. Ship it. You can do 3 of those in a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're at what, over 30 hours in a day. So I have a buddy at working at Kia, and he's flagging 100, 200, 100 to 200 hours a week just because it's so repetitive, it's so easy. And it's just like, bro, you're not bored? He's like, oh hell yeah, fuck it. He's like, but I make a lot of money. I'm just like,
Somebody's watching you. Somebody's
yeah.
watching you.
No, I just went to go grab a beer. I was like, okay, assholes, why aren't y'all watching me?
Oh, that's his girlfriend right there. No, I would totally be bored. That when I went to school, when I came out of school, my ideal thing was that I wanted to learn how to work on most everything. I wanted to be able to do most everything to most everything. Not be able to work on everything, because obviously I don't want to work on Lamborghinis, but you know what I mean. Hell no! Are you kidding me? You don't want to
Dude,
work on a Lamborghini.
Okay, so I have a buddy.
Fuck really? Yeah. You want to work on a Lamborghini in the shop?
Hell yeah, bro!
I want to lose my ass. Pop the hood. There's 4 hours right there just trying to figure out how to pop the hood. No, I'm kidding, but what I mean is,
man. I get what you're saying. It's just like, bro, this is like 10 hours for an oil change. Like what? Our buddy, he works.
I want to be able to make money, and I want to work on, I want to work on just about everything and learn how to work on and do just about everything, but not everything. Like, there are vehicles you shouldn't be working on, like Lamborghinis and shit like that. Those cars should not be coming into your shop.
I want to work on those. I want to work on
only one
Lamborghinis,
time, so you can
Ferraris. No, like I want to work on those. Like, dude, like
no, you don't. Okay.
Yes, I do.
You want to work on it until you touch it one time and you make no money and you lose your ass because you realize that they should be paying 7 hours for something that you're getting paid an hour for. That's why I say you don't want to work on that kind of stuff.
Well,
do you
that
really
comes
think
down
your
to that.
shop is going to charge 25 hours for an oil change on a Bentley?
They better. That's what it fucking pays, dog. That's what the book says. Well, technically, no. And the reality of it, a Bentley won't be coming into the shop just because Bentley.
Yes,
you gotta go to Bentley.
I was making though. There are vehicles that we get, high end. We actually, what's crazy is right behind our shop is this crazy auto sports place, right? And so the Sacramento Kings are here in Sacramento. Well, so most of their players get their cars done at this place that's literally right across the street from our shop. So if I walk out behind my shop and I look at the parking lot across the street, there's about 13 Lamborghinis, 7 Ferraris, 3 or 4, 5, 6 Mercedes G-Wagons, Bentleys. I mean, this parking lot is full of nothing but super, super, super high-end cars. And you don't want to work on those kind of cars because those kind of cars don't pay you. I mean, it's all fun one time to touch it, pop the hood, look at it, cool. But when you spend 2 hours doing something that you should have got paid 14 hours, and the guy who's working on it is making maybe $25 an hour more than you, and getting paid more hours.
I'd have to disagree. Okay, so I have a buddy that works for Aston. What is it, Aston Martin or Ashton? I don't know how you say it. Aston Martin, right? He sent me. I tell him to send me videos because I like that shit. Like I want to work on that shit. He's like doing a drive belt. Guess how much the drive belt paid? A drive belt.
I don't know.
Let's make a guess. Take a guess.
7 hours.
14.
Wow.
14 hours to do a drive belt. I'll find a picture and I'll send you a screenshot.
Well, but that doesn't surprise me because there's some of these high-end cars are 28 hours for an oil change.
Which one's go? Okay. Well, I guess but you have to charge accordingly. Like, okay, take a Chevy.
Do you think that your shop is going to have the proper labor guides and use the proper labor parts for it? What I
And
mean
that's why it's
is,
good. Okay, I get you. The book time could be wrong.
in the independent world, we should not be touching exotic cars because exotic cars, our book time is not going to. Well, first of all, you're not going to have any information anyways. You go look up in your service information for how to do an oil change on a Bentley. Guess what? You're not going to be able to find it. But it's
Just a
28
Land Rover,
hours.
even
And
for a Land Rover.
you can find like a quick time lapse video on Facebook where they talk about this 28-hour oil change and it costs this much money at a dealership. But,
10 grand.
You know, we had like a Maserati, a high-end Maserati come in. And it came in Maserati. You're like, damn, hell yeah, Maserati. Not a cheap-ass Maserati, a higher-end Maserati. And it came in, of course, it went to the Euro guy who wants to work on all the Euro cars. You know, and he gets it, and it's like, check electronic parking brake. Check this, check this, check this. 5 or 6 concerns. Guess what he couldn't do? Anything. Because, well, first of all, our scanner wouldn't do anything. Our service information wouldn't do anything. You couldn't even find a wiring diagram for the electronic parking brake. So,
but I mean, if you had access
you don't want
to
to work on those kind of cars because you don't have that kind of information or that kind of access.
I get that. If you don't have the
just
access, then obviously no. But if you do have the access, like, I mean, by all
But
means.
we don't have the access for all that stuff.
You
Not
could
really.
if you pay for it. I mean, there's shops that like specialize in just Maserati, so they can get
but they pay for Maserati information.
Right, exactly. I mean, you can pay for it. I mean, it's there. Just
that's what I meant.
A regular like our shops, we're not gonna have. I mean, if I get a freaking Audi R8, I'm probably have to turn it down unless it's like an oil change or tire patch or some brakes or something. You know. I mean, it's just because we're probably not gonna like a Skyline, GTR.
Yeah.
Nissan, like a Nissan, you have to be a master tech to do an oil change on a Skyline GTR. Like, bro, it's just an oil change. There's nothing special about the damn car. Like, it's just a fucking car.
You're on the wrong side of the car.
You know what I mean? Like,
maybe Paul Walker sat in that car. For real, that'd be badass though. For real, I wouldn't even sit in it. I'd be like, oh, Paul Walker sat here.
See, I think if I leave my shop, I would like to go to a specialized shop where they specialize in like Porsches or Maserati, like the fancy exotic cars, just because like I've never worked on them. You know what I mean?
And you people get bored though. You're gonna get bored.
I'm pretty sure I would, but for a while, at least for like a couple years, it's just because I don't see these cars. You don't know a bunch about them. Like freaking the Aston Martins, they don't have a master cylinder. Like their braking is electronic. It's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so I asked my buddy, I was like, well, what happens if that shit fails? He's like, bro, I don't know. It's sketchy as fuck, but it's electronic. I'm like, what? Like,
well, there's a fail safe.
I'm pretty sure
there's
like there has
a fail safe and everything.
Juan Prats, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, whoa, what's up, buddy? He was one of my giveaway winners.
Oh, nice. Oh yeah, I need to post that on YouTube.
I mean, yeah, no, I get it. It's just like for me, like I went to school for a career. So when I went to school to work on cars, I went for a career, but I was also 27 when I went to school, and I had worked in every industry in the world, and so I knew I was ready to like find my forever job. And when I was in school, I talked to every instructor. I had 10 classes with probably there was 2 instructors per class. So I probably talked to a good 30 instructors through my time at school about what they did, where they worked, what they liked, what they didn't like, what kind of money they made, pros and cons. I talked to every instructor about that, every single instructor, all those questions. So in the end, I knew I didn't want to work in a dealership because, well, I didn't want to do the same shit. I didn't want to work on the same kind of vehicle. I didn't want to be the drivability guy in the dealership, or I didn't want to be the front end guy, or I didn't want to be the brake guy. I was never going to be the oil change guy. and I didn't want to only work on Toyotas and and Lexus. So I knew that. I knew I didn't want to work in this kind of thing or that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I kind of had and in the end, I decided that I wanted to learn how to work on most stuff and be able to do most stuff to most stuff. And
Jack of
that's
all
where I came
trades.
up with that. And that's what I did, and it's funny because, I joke around with my coworkers sometimes, right? So I had a Cummins towed in yesterday, and it has no transmission and no trans case. The torque converter is mounted to the engine still, and the guy's bringing a new transmission, and there's a bucket of bolts. And
he's like,
well, it's Cummins.
he
And
pulled he tried to pull the transmission.
Guess who's getting it? Me,
You.
because I'm the diesel guy, right? So I always joke around with my other coworkers. I'll go up and go, "Hey man, I got this diesel over here. If you want to work on it," they'll be like, "Oh hell no," So I always joke around about that. But like one of my coworkers, we were sitting there talking. He's like, "Hey man, you're the one that wanted to learn how to work on everything," and I'm like, "You know what? I did. I learned. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be versatile. I wanted to have better job security. When it came time to find a job, I wanted to be able to find a job just about everywhere. Just kind of what I wanted for myself."
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, see, that's definitely how I am. I mean, at this job, it's kind of cool because, I mean, I fixed my boss's boat. I've worked on heavy equipment, excavators, skid steers, so I've definitely got like a wide variety of experience from Asians, Europeans, and gas and diesel, So I definitely like the fact that I work on a lot of stuff. There is stuff I wish I worked on like more. I wish I worked more on Mercedes and BMW, European stuff, just because I'm very unfamiliar with them,
right.
and I would like to see more. But out of all the diesels and Renegade, I do see your comment about Mopar. I think Aston Martin's actually a part of Chrysler, or Alfa Romeo too. So they're probably like Chrysler powertrains, just with extras. But out of all the diesels, Duramax, Ford, and Cummins, which one would you prefer to work on? If you had to solely work on one of those diesels, which ones would you work on?
Power Stroke, number one.
Power Stroke.
Cummins,
Why? Just because you worked on so many, or?
Well, two. The biggest reason is, there's two reasons. One, because I have the most experience with them, and two, I think the reason I have so much experience with them is because there's so many more on the road. I really truly believe there are way more Power Strokes sold than Duramax and Cummins. So in my experience, I rarely see Duramaxes in the shop. In any shop I've worked at, I rarely see Duramaxes. I've done injectors in Duramaxes like probably 5 times. And I mean, Duramax, they built a hell of a truck with a hell of an injector. I mean, they extended their warranty to 100,000 miles for their injectors. So that tells you how good their injectors were. But I rarely see Duramaxes. So, and what's funny is people aren't working on their Duramaxes because those things are friggin' hard to diagnose. Like, I'm a diesel mechanic, and I have had a couple Duramaxes that had to go away because I didn't have a definitive answer for the customer. And we had to just write it off and say, sorry, we don't really have a complete answer for you. It could be like 7 things, but I don't have an answer for you, and I'm not willing to go spend $2,000 putting something in the truck to see if it fixes it, to see if maybe it doesn't. But I will tell you one thing that's really cool. So I made a video called it was a Duramax no start video. It was a no start video for a Duramax. All right. So I've made a couple videos about this, and I have another one coming up in the near future. So a common rail diesel. Okay. So a common rail And now I've talked to people in the diesel world, and I've had people like tell me they've never seen this happen before, but I've seen it happen. So the inside of a fuel rail is about that big, all right? And let's say a 5-cylinder or a 6-cylinder engine, the fuel rail is not quite the length of the engine, maybe 2/3 of the engine, right? So the fuel rail is not very big. And so the fuel rail itself does not actually have that much fuel in it. So a fuel pump in a high pressure fuel system in a diesel is a high pressure, low volume pump. So what that means is it can pump a lot of pressure, but it doesn't have a lot of volume. There's not a whole lot here, but it's pumping it really, really, really fast. So all it takes is one minor imperfection, and some of that fuel goes away, and then you don't have as much fuel. So I had a video about Duramax that started off as it was a no start, and I had one injector that was returning a ton of fuel. And I sold an injector on it, and it was better, but it wasn't fixed. And in the end, we end up just telling the guy to have a nice day, and we ate the injector. We ate the injector. We told him to just kick rocks because it could have been a ficum. I didn't really have an answer, but I knew the injector was bad. It's one of those crappy. I made a comment today. My last post today where I talked about our live stream was how sometimes diesels suck because sometimes you're in it 2, 3, 4 steps trying to figure out the answer to the problem. Now, you could have 2, 3, 4 problems before you finally come to the final conclusion, but that's just how diesels roll. It's not like a gas car where I got a misfire and it's one injector. It's one coil. In diesels, it can be multiple different things. And multiple different things can be wrong with it before you finally ever get to the final root cause. Yeah. And you'll have some to be like, oh, you misdiagnosed it because it's not fixed. No, fool.
No.
When it came in, this was a scenario, and now it's here, but it's not fixed because, it's different, but it's not better. It's just a shitty situation. Hence the fact of being a go ahead.
Let me make a comment on that. So the 6.7, I did the upper oil pan. Like I said, initially I took that job from my boss. Came in for oil leaks, right? Upper oil pan was leaking without a doubt, for sure. From the back, my boss had cleaned it, leaked from the oil pan. So we did the rear main, upper oil pan. I pull out the transmission, I pull out the oil pan, and I see oil from the top of the bell housing. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, the catch can, the oil separator, it's leaking. I could tell. So upsold that, right? And then I do the job, whatever. I put it on, I let it sit overnight, and I see more oil dripping on the bell housing. I'm like, what the heck? I was like, okay, well, maybe it was just some leftover oil from within the rear main, being thrown around. Clean it. So I finally put it all together, lower it down so I can do the catch can, pulling off the tube and the little PCV hose, and I noticed oil in the valley. I'm like, okay, so there's another leak there too. I noted it. Did the oil pan, right? Did the oil separator, cleaned up the valley of oil so we can see where it leaks. I'm running it. I don't know. I deleted it just because I was getting a bunch of comments of, oh, you misdiagnosed it and bullshit, and it was kind of pissing me off. I was like, whatever, I'm gonna delete this. So I'm running the car, test drive it, and I always triple check my work. I make sure it's in here. What I did is good. I'm not gonna see this shit again. I'm running it. I see fucking oil coming from the oil pan, and I'm like, motherfucker, dude. Are you telling me I'm gonna have to redo this shit? No. And so I'm cleaning it and I'm watching it. I'm like, yeah, it's the oil pan. Crap. I didn't put enough silicone. And I'm thinking there's no way. I made sure, and then my boss was like, well, make sure it's not the timing cover. I was like, I don't think so. Cause it's coming from here. So I cleaned it.
Was it the driver's side right behind the water pump?
Yes.
Motherfucker, it's the timing cover.
I didn't. Well, see, I didn't diagnose, so I cleaned it right, and
I know it's the timing cover.
And I'm watching it, and I was like, it's the fucking timing cover, and I got like a huge relief off my shoulders because I was like, one, I'm like, fuck, I fucked up, like I didn't do this repair right. You know what I mean? I'm like, now I'm gonna have to take this whole shit apart again and fucking redo it. But it was the timing cover, and I was getting a lot of fucking comments like, so you misdiagnosed it. Well, first off, I didn't fucking diag it. You know what I mean? But second off, you have a huge oil leaks. You got to clean what you can. If you see something leaking that's very obvious, you got to fix that first, man. It's just the fucking way it goes.
And all those people that said you misdiagnosed them, unfollow their dumbasses.
It's just like some of them were joking, and then some of them were like, so you misdiagnosed it. Like, I didn't even diagnose this car. Like, I took the job. But you know what I mean? It's just like sometimes you got to fix things first. Like, well, this is definitely a problem, and this can cause it. Like, I can't without a doubt tell you, like, you know what I mean? It's like I have a misfire where you got a huge oil leak. I need to fix this valve cover leak. Obviously, you got a misfire in something too. I need to fix this oil leak, change this coil, and then go from there. Like, I can't continue any further. Like, that's just the name of the game, bro. So I get it. I get it.
I'm gonna go take a leak, and when I get back, I want to talk about gas versus diesel. And I know you're new to this game, but I want to see what your opinion is. We'll talk about my opinion. Kind of a cool little subject. Old versus new, or no, old versus new. Kind of see what you guys think. If you guys have any questions for us, hit us up in the comments. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I guess so. You're right. I mean, two of them were kind of buddies. I was like, it's like, it wasn't misdiag. I didn't misdiag it. And I guess you can think of the customer's way. It's like, I'm paying you $2,500 to fix my oil leak, and you tell me it's this, but yeah, I still see oil, you know? So I guess that's a part of covering your ass. Like, hey, we got to start with this, get all this cleaned up, make sure, because we know for a fact that this is leaking, and then go from there and see if we see any more leaks. Same with like vibration issues. Like, you know, I had a Nissan Armada the other day. He took it to like 2-3 other shops, and it was pulling to the side, and they fucking sold him his whole suspension, tie rods, upper control arms, low control arms, shocks, blah blah. I get the car. His fucking tires are horrible. I'm like, bro, you got to change your tires first. Like, I can't. Did you get an alignment? Yes, I got an alignment. Got an alignment. Well, you know what? You need to change your tires, do an alignment. I can't continue any further like this. And you need tires. You need tires. It's pulling to the right. You have tire vibration. Those other guys you took it to don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You need to do this first. So.
All right, so I want to just chime in real quick on the timing cover comment. And Gilman's Garage, what's happening, brother? You're probably going to be like, how do you know the timing cover? So recently, I did a couple upper oil pans, and I had one of them come back, and when it came in, I mean, you know, it's one of those things where you're like, you look at it, you're like, cool. I mean, I don't really care what anybody says. Like, if the oil pan is wet all around, the oil pan's leaking, right? You can't do anything beyond that. And if you say you misdiagnosed it, then you've clearly never seen an oil pan leak on a 6.7, because it's just everywhere. And you can't be like, it was right above that.
It's everywhere, man.
You clearly don't work on those, so you shouldn't be chiming in. So the reason I say that is I've had two now recently where when it came in initially, it was a rear main and an oil pan. I mean, 100% for sure they were leaking, no question about it. But it came back, and I had this one, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, I'm sitting there, it's got this oil leak, and I'm like, this is dumbfounding me. It's leaking down the driver's side of the oil pan, but not the passenger side. I'm like, what the hell is going on? This is really weird. Like, and I use a torque wrench. I torque anything that has fluid going through it. oil pans, timing covers, intakes, valve covers. I don't care. I torque it with a torque wrench. Even if it's a Honda valve cover, I torque it because I can break bolts off really easily with my big ass hands. So I use a torque wrench. I swear to God, I use a torque wrench every time. Anyways, so I'm like looking at this thing and I'm like laying there going, what the fuck's leaking? Like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, I know that this oil pan is not leaking. And I've done this oil pan at least a couple of other times. So it's not like it's my first time and I fucked up. You know what I mean? I didn't smear the silicone. You know, it's not. It only has 2 little dabs of silicone. It's all gasket. And so I'm sitting there looking, and the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm looking at this truck, and it wasn't even in for an oil leak. But anyways, I just happened to notice it because I was like, I just did an oil pan on this truck like not that long ago. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, this is really weird because it looks like it's coming up from behind the water pump. I mean, and I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, I mean, timing cover? I don't know. I can't really see it for sure. You know, it's not like you can see like a split line. And you're like, oh, it's coming from right there. You know, you just know it's coming from
that area.
that area behind the water pump. And I mean, the only thing there is the timing cover. And then I'm in my head, I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess it has to be the timing cover. We did something else to the truck. I don't remember what it was in for, a coolant leak or something. I don't remember. Anyway, it was in for a coolant leak because I made a video about it. But anyways, and I deleted it on accident. So yeah, talk about that in a minute. But anyway, so then another one came in and I just did an upper oil pan on this thing. And I'm looking at this thing going, son of a bitch. This one is leaking in the same damn spot. It's the damn timing cover. So yeah, so that's when I said that. That's because I've seen that twice now recently. But no, I want to tell you a funny story. The other day I was going through footage, and I just discovered recently that you can upload videos to YouTube and not make them public.
Yeah,
I've almost done that. Yeah. So last night I'm sitting there and I'm like, I need to go through a bunch of old footage because I have hours and hours and hours of footage. And I'm like deleting footage, right? And I'm deleting footage. And right when I'm about to hit delete on something, I'm like, wait a minute. Let me just double check. And I go back and I look at my channel and I'm like, wait, I never released that video. And then if you were looking at me, you would be like, oh, something's wrong. The look of just, oh shit, went across my face when I went, wait a minute, I just deleted that video from my editing app because I thought I already uploaded it. And I went to the editing app and son of a bitch, it wasn't there. I was like, oh my God, I made a video, deleted it, and then forgot about it. Yeah. So kind of mad about that.
Oh, so iPhone has the recently
I just discovered that yesterday.
So if you they have recently deleted. So like say I delete something, right? And then like that happens, right? I'm like, oh shit, I wasn't supposed to delete that. I can go back to like recently deleted. It'll stay in there for like 30 days.
No, I can do that on my Samsung. On my Samsung, my trash is there unless I empty the trash, it stays there. But my KineMaster is where I edit my videos. That's not Samsung. That's an app.
Yeah.
And so I deleted the video from KineMaster, which is where I edit my videos. So I have to go back and I didn't delete any footage, but I have to go back and re-edit
it.
Yeah. It's a cooling system video on a 6.7, but.
So last Sunday when we were talking, like that's actually what I did. I have a bunch of videos and like I just never uploaded. I never got around to editing them. And I was like, shit, you know what? Let me fucking do that. Like I've been slacking on content. I have videos ready to be posted. And I made videos for twice a week for the whole month of February. And I still have like 6 more videos ready to upload for fucking March.
Nice.
So I was just like, damn, like I don't gotta make any videos right now. But I'm recording for, future videos, but it's just like, dang, like.
Yeah. Hey man, you know what? I'll tell you what. Take it from me. Don't ever take it for granted and be like, I got a lot of videos. I'm just going to upload like 3 because then you're going to have like a couple slow weeks. And you're going to be like, oh shit. Oh, I don't want to make a video about an oil change on a Honda. You know, stupid, but you know what I mean.
It's
You're gonna be
stupid,
grasping
but
at straws trying to figure out something to make a video about.
not just that. Look, tools. Okay, you can only make so many video tools. There's a bunch of tools channels already out there. The party already gonna cover it. Repair videos. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a oil change on a freaking Acura, these are some DIY guy out there, someone that doesn't want to take it. They're gonna look it up. They're gonna watch it. You know.
That's why I started my channel was for repair videos.
Bye. Be careful, okay?
Cuidado.
Love you too. And see you later. Be careful, okay? So yeah, repair videos, regardless if it's something simple as tune-up, spark plug, there's gonna be that average DIY guy who doesn't, or simply can't afford taking it to shops or a professional, and you made a detailed video of how to do it, what tools you need to do this job, and they're gonna do it. They're gonna watch it. I made a video of a Grand Marquis, same thing as a Town Car and Crown Vic, the Fuel Tech Indian. That's like one of my most viewed videos, and basically you go through the comments. There's just a bunch of DIY guys that, and I made the video basically for a new tech. Well, how am I gonna do this job? Because that's what I like to do.
Drop the whole fuel tank?
Nah.
That's a joke.
Oh yeah.
You're trying to drop that fuel tank anyways. It's like a hella tall and
and the only reason you have to drop is for that little sensor in the back, but I mean there's a way.
There's an awkward ass fuel tank anyways. I tried to drop it one time.
Did you?
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass. I had to for evap, but I mean it's a pain in the ass. You don't have to for the fuel pump, but all you have to do is unbolt the sender and turn it over, and then you can flip it up and pull it out over the top. But
yeah, so I mean, I think with repair videos, even if there's like 10 videos on it, like okay, I remember seeing a video about I was looking for a Nissan water pump on like a 2002. I was like, okay, well, how do I do this water pump? It's or it's timing chain driven, so I was trying to figure it out.
Oh, okay.
There's like 10 videos on
3.5.
YouTube. Yeah, the 3.5. There's like 10 videos on YouTube.
Little water pump cover.
Yeah, there's 10 videos on YouTube, and none of them are like. I'm like, bro, why did you even post this? Like, what the hell? Like, this is, not trying to be mean, it's pure trash. Like, if a DIYer was trying to watch this, they'd be like,
right,
what? So I think that into perspective. Repair videos. Look at South Main Auto. I mean, South Main Auto, Pine Hollow. Doesn't matter what they're doing. They just post a video. Somebody somewhere has that same car, has that same problem, want to repair that part. They're going to watch it. And
hey, you know what, man?
It's content.
I started my channel because I was doing a head gasket on an Eco Diesel, and there was not one. Now, when I say this is no exaggeration. There was not one repair video on YouTube about an Eco Diesel, period. There was about 3 where people put it on an engine stand and took a gun and just zipped it all apart and threw it in a pile.
Like, what is that telling me?
Or they took it apart and they deleted all the shit that doesn't apply in California, right? So, but as far as like a straightforward repair, there wasn't any. And all I was trying to do was find a quick overview of the engine, so I had an easier time taking it apart when I was at work. And there was not one video online, and that's why I started my channel, was because of that engine. And that one specific, I guarantee you now, I have not searched since, but I guarantee you now, you could probably find a shit ton of videos about how to take that engine apart. But there was not any of 14 months ago, 15 months ago when I started my channel.
Try searching up a 4.6 dual overhead cam Cobra engine. I remember that's kind of one of the things that made me want to start a channel too, is because I had a 97 Cobra, had a spun rod bearing, and I was like, well, I want to rebuild this. How do I do it? I can go on YouTube, Not a single fucking thing. There's a video of a time lapse where the guy he should just take pictures of. Okay, got the block. Next picture, blocks completely torn apart. Whoa, whoa, whoa! How the hell did you do that? You know what I mean? So,
Right.
So I'm actually gonna make a video on that. I gave the Cobra to my little brother. My dad went and got the block machined and everything, got all the parts. So he's gonna bring it to me. I'm gonna assemble the short block. I'm gonna make a video of it just because I'm pretty sure still to this day there's probably you can't go and look up 96 to 98 4.6 dual overhead cam rebuild process.
Right.
You know what I mean? So any kind of repair video, doesn't matter what you're working on, it needs to be put out there just because people like you and me.
My channel, I was actually just talking to one of our porters today. We were talking about YouTube and I was like, you know what? I told him today, I said, you know what? My channel is like this. Whatever car I have in the shop, whatever job I have, whatever specific thing I have going on at the moment, that's what I make content on. I don't make content based on what everybody on YouTube is searching for. I make my videos on what I have in the shop. If I have a Fiat and I'm doing thermostat on a Fiat, then I'm going to make a video on a thermostat on a Fiat because I could only
I've never seen that.
I'm a flat rate. Well, and I know I have a video coming out about that in the future. But, well, I mean, it's just, weird. Like, you do what you can. You know what I mean? And sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you have one vehicle and you're like, oh my God, I got 3 videos out of this one truck. Like I have one truck. I made 3 videos recently.
Yeah, like you're doing a window regulator, right? You can make a video of how to remove the door panel. If someone needs to replace the door panel, door handle, whatever. If someone needs to remove the window regulator.
Oh no. I'm sorry. What I meant was like I did like an oil pan and then a timing cover and then a rear main. That's what I meant.
Oh, like you had like multiple jobs.
No, I didn't mean like 3 jobs of like one. But that actually brings up a point. Like I did a video where I took a whole bunch of stuff apart to get to something. And in my video, I say, I don't tell you how to take all of this apart. We're going in after this main component. But now if I get a job where I'm just replacing one of those components, I'll show you how to replace it.
See, and sometimes I like just a quick tip video. Like, okay, so I have a buddy, right? He started out in a shop. Go for it.
1 second.
Any of y'all like Deftones?
I see you have a bartender there handing you beers.
Yeah.
Right.
What was I saying?
Cheers. It's been a hell of a week.
Cheers, brother. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna go in tomorrow. Probably not. But what was I saying?
I'm not going in tomorrow.
What the hell was I saying?
You have a buddy that works.
Oh, okay, right. So like quick tip videos, just like okay, like your 6-7 video, right? I went and watched it. I was like, I've done this before. I know what to do. I'm gonna skim through your video. What do I take off? I gotta take that off. Gotta take that off. Gotta take it off. I'm not gonna see how do I take that off. I just want to know what needs to come off. So I had this buddy, right? And I see him post the engine, and I know the engine. I was like, oh, that's a Ford 4.2. Ford 4.2. He's doing an oil pan, right? He's like, oil pan on this, right? Like 4 hours goes by. I see him post it again. He's like, damn, oil pan won't come out. And I look, I'm like, bro. I was like, okay. I was like, hey, I made a video on this. All you have to do is remove the transmission, take out an engine mount, use some jack stands, lift it up, and you can pull that transmission out. Because the book tells you to remove the engine. Like, I'm not gonna remove an engine to do an oil pan, bro. Like, right? So I sent him the video, right? And then he replies, yeah, that was no help. It doesn't tell me how to take out the transmission. Okay. You shouldn't be working on cars.
This is why I made a video that told you how to take the transmission out and then how to do the rear main. So that way nobody could say, how do I take the transmission out?
But like for like me and you, experienced techs, like if I'm doing a job, I just want to know. So that's kind of why I make some certain videos like just plain like, hey, you gotta take this off. You gotta take this off. You gotta take this off. And then some videos I'm very detailed, like, hey, you want to make sure you're doing this, this, and this, this. But
yeah, you want to
he's
tell people like you don't want to. You're not going to tell everybody take out this bolt and that bolt and that bolt, and then this. You kind of give them the overview, and then tell them the things they need to watch out for. That's what I do.
Yeah, I was actually you do
I'm
that.
not going to
You
show
kind
you
of
a
talk.
time lapse where you're like watching me take it all apart. You're going to like get the. Well, it's funny. This is exactly. I'm going to tell you a funny story. The way I got the name of my channel was exactly that. When I decided to do my channel, I was going to tell people how to get the nuts and bolts of it, like just the bits and pieces. That's all. I wasn't going to walk them through the procedure. I was going to give them just the nuts and bolts. And that's kind of what, where it all came from. But, So let's talk about gas versus diesel.
What's up, Eric?
Eric is in the house. Hang on. Let's see.
Tools.
Small Engines is in the house. What's happening, brother? Hey, you know what, guys? I want to apologize. We have just been sitting here just chatting like we were at the bar having beers. And we forgot about all you guys, and we didn't forget about you, but I'm really sorry because I guess we kind of had because we hadn't been paying attention to any of you guys.
Y'all go check out Eric Works for Tools. I love his name, Works for Tools. Like I kind of like it. It's like we all work for tools to do our job. That's pretty awesome. But go check him out. He has a good channel.
So thank you very much for everyone that's joined us. I'm so sorry that we haven't been looking at the comments. DIY Misfit, thank you for joining the chat. It's been a real long time since I've done a live stream. And Dazeni and I, we haven't talked online in quite some time. So what's up, Eric? How's it going, brother? Good to see you, man. Cheers. It's Friday. Your cart's looking good. Saw the pictures today.
Yeah, my hair was all right. Hold up.
Oh, look at that.
Damn. I was wearing your shirt earlier, Tony, but I went to the gym in it and stuff. So
I got my shirt today. I got my
oh, you finally got one of your own.
Shirt on
Let me
today.
see. I didn't even get to see it. That's dope. I like that. Hey, did you ever send me a sticker?
Yeah, twice.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, so I sent this guy. So I sent this fool some stickers, right? And then he messaged me like a while later. He's like, "Man, I'm pretty sure you sent me some stickers, but I think I lost them in my truck somehow, and I think maybe I got the mail, and I don't know what happened." And so I sent him some more, and then look, now he's like, "Did you send me stickers?"
I forgot. I think I put them on my box already, but
you want some more?
Yeah, man, send me more. Do you have one of mine? I don't know if I sent you one.
Of course, it's on my cart.
Okay, yeah. I know I have yours. I think I put yours somewhere. I might have. I gotta find it. But yeah, check it for Eric. Awesome guy.
Hey, welcome to the chat, Lee. Thanks for joining us.
Lee,
very cool guy right here, DIY Misfit. Thank you for joining the chat. All right, so gas versus diesel. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so
a little hard with talking with it because I'm like a diesel mechanic and you're like up and comer in that aspect. I don't mean
so okay, so let me put it so like the past 4 years I've just been an R&R guy. So I've worked on gas and diesels. Like I've done a bunch of diesel jobs that my boss kind of diagnosed like, well, this has to be the problem. I don't want to get too much into that, but it's like he's like, hey, can you change this? So, I've done a bunch of diesel work, like of R&R, and I've done a bunch of gas. Personally, if it came down to it, I would say gas is just easier to work on. It's easier, but I do like working on diesel just because it's the simple fact, like some guys won't touch diesels. We've had guys come in the shops like, oh, I won't touch that. It's just an alternator. Nope. Just a drive up. Nope. We had a guy there. He would not touch a diesel. He wouldn't. No. I'm just like, it's just not like it's just nuts and bolts, bro. Just
wait, is that the guy that left the cap on the radiator?
Oh no, that was another guy, man. Oh. Yeah, that
Okay,
guy
good.
was. It's funny. I remember he said something. It's kind of surprising. He had not heart not bashing on anyone. He had a Harbor Freight cart full of Harbor Freight tools. No impact sockets, zero, all chrome sockets.
Nothing wrong with
And
that.
and I'm looking at his tools, and I was just like, okay. I was like, you don't have that many tools. You've been doing this for 8 years. I was like, okay. And he's like, you don't need tools. You need brain. I was like, okay. I mean, you're not lying. You need brain to do this. Like, I did a Land Rover. I needed a torque adapter to take off the transfer case. Didn't have one, so I freaking put a 3/8 extension onto a 3/8 1/2 inch adapter, and I shoved that into a 13 millimeter stubby wrench and made a torque adapter, and I pulled that transfer case off. So yeah, you definitely need brains, but yeah, he left the freaking radiator cap inside an engine, and it started overheating on him, and not a radiator cap, a radiator plug inside one of the hoses, and started overheating, and I don't know, just one of those things. Oh, I don't know if you saw my post. 2013 Ram 2500. Guy literally like a couple months ago went to some performance shop, wanted to beef up his rear end, had a
Oh,
performance
the
build.
differential.
Yeah, he paid a lot of money for this guy to beef up his differential.
How the hell did this guy not have an ABS light?
Oh, so okay, so that little rubber grommet actually saved it from eating through the wire. But this guy, I can imagine he spent at least minimum $2,000 with labor and parts. Paid someone who specializes in building these, and make a simple mistake of, and it all comes down to checking your work, guys. Like
That's
people,
not a simple mistake. That's called being a moron.
no, it's a simple mistake. Like it was hanging, you put it on, you didn't fucking double check your work, and that's where you fucked up. I
That's what I
try
meant
to
by
preach that a lot.
not being.
I preach
That's
that a
what I
lot.
meant
Like,
by being a moron is you didn't look at it when you got done.
and there's a lot of things that were. I'm gonna pick on Flat Rate Master. I love Flat Rate Master. Don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of videos where he says, "Oh, if someone says they don't get comebacks, they're full of shit. They're lying." No. If you get a comeback and a part failure, they're two different things. Two different things. If you get a comeback because you left something loose, you didn't tighten something, you fucked up because you didn't double check your work, you didn't do the repair right.
Wait, hang on. Wait, hang on. Let me stop you. Let me stop you before you put your foot in your mouth. Because you haven't been
What?
doing this long enough. Wait, hang on. You haven't been doing flat rate long enough for you to make those kind of claims.
No.
Just give it a minute. Let it sink in. You'll make a mistake. And you'll be like, oh shit. Maybe not
Dude,
an
I've
ABS
caught myself. I've
wire.
I've made videos of me doing this where I've made a mistake and I'm rushing or I get distracted and I've left something loose. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. That happens. What I'm saying is you didn't fucking triple check your work. You didn't double
Well,
check
you're
your
not
work.
going to triple check your work.
I do. I would not let.
You won't. You won't.
Yes, I will.
Eventually, you won't. You'll
Nope.
double check your work.
Nope.
No, believe me. Hey, I've
No.
been doing this. I used to
Oh,
triple check my shit all the time. You haven't been doing it long enough to where. Remember, you just started flat rate.
that has nothing to do with it.
Are
That
completely
has
different.
nothing. That has nothing to do with it. It has to do
It
with
does.
the amount of pride and quality in my work that I'm gonna make
Well, no,
sure.
it's not that. What I mean is when you do something for so long and you do it day in and day out.
Let me put it this
start
way.
to.
You know how many brake jobs I've done? I've done a bunch of brake jobs. I've done a bunch. And I'll tell you right now, just recently, and every single time, 3 times, most recent 3 times, I did not double check my work. Guess what? I left something fucking loose.
So I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes where only one time did I ever have something loose, like brake wise. That was a really, really, really long time ago, like probably 16 years ago. But like, I mean, I've put the belt on the wrong side of the pulley. Like I've had a car come back overheating and it had an overheating codes. And I look and I'm like, oh shit. Somehow this car, the belt was able to go on both sides of the water pump pulley. And it spun
Now,
the impeller backwards.
okay, I'm
What
not
I
saying
mean
that
is,
can't happen.
everybody has a comebacks of their own sort. It's
A small percentage.
dumbass
You're gonna have
comeback.
comebacks. Not absolutely zero. Yes, I get that. Like you can't have zero. That's just not how it works. It's not a perfect world. But I'm saying having comebacks for the simple fact because you did not want to take an extra 2 to 5 minutes to triple check your work and you left something loose or you forgot to put something on or something, you rolled a gasket, you didn't check to see if that gasket was. So like I was saying, brake jobs, right? My boss, he'll do a brake job, he'll test drive it, and he parks it. I don't do that shit. And I've already learned because it's happened to me 3 times where I'll test drive it. No, I double checked my work. I triple checked it. It's good. I left something fucking loose.
What was loose?
Caliper bracket, caliper bolt,
Okay. All right. So
slide pin. You know, even though I torque my stuff, it's just somewhere I put it in, I started it, and I'm like, okay, it's good, and I'm going because you're going fast, right? Trying to flag hours. Get this 5 hour total brake job done in 1 hour. Let's go. Ship it.
the only way that you're going to continue to triple check your work constantly is if you constantly keep fucking shit up. Just trust me when I say that what happens is when if you were creatures of habit, right? If you no, I know. I get what you I remember I was a young guy once in a long time ago where, I was like you. So I still will sometimes re-rack the car and double check the drain plug, right? On an oil change. Like I do that. If I don't remember like giving the drain plug a snug, I will actually rack it and I will climb under the car and I will crank the drain plug. I
I do
still
that
will
too.
do that even after all these years. I still do that. I still will turn the wheel and double check. So, but what I'm getting at is I still do extra check stuff. Like if I can't recall in my head giving something an extra crank, I will actually go and give it like an extra crank, even if it means turning the wheel or whatever. But what I mean is, after a while, you will do certain things and you will do them so much and so often without fail that whether you like it or not, right now it's very hard to believe, but one day you will actually not give it that extra check that you give it. You might give it 2 extra checks now. You might eventually only give it 1 extra check. So everything will dissipate with less fuck ups, right? So the more you double check yourself and the more you don't find that you fucked up, the
The more you
less you
trust
will
yourself.
triple check yourself. So there's nothing wrong with not triple checking yourself. I still double check myself sometimes, and sometimes I triple check myself. But you will be surprised. I really wish that you could record yourself for like a couple months, and in 10 years, go back and watch it, and you will go back and go, "What the fuck? Oh my god, I can't believe I was doing all that stuff." Just trust me
No,
when I say this that you will eventually ease up. I'm not trying to convince you right now. I'm not telling you this so you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I believe you. I'm not saying that now.
I'm
I'm saying that so one day you're going to come across this video and you're going to be like, oh my God, I used to like triple check that and that and that. In your head, you're going to be thinking, I can't believe it's amazing at how the things that dissipate over time some things will dissipate. Now some things will not. Like I said, I still will go and re-rack a car and give the drain plug a little crank if I don't recall tightening it.
see that's exactly what I do. every job. Like I tell myself, did I torque this? Like yeah. So like oil changes till this day. Um, as I'm backing it out, as I'm putting that car in reverse, getting ready to ship it, I'm thinking, did I check the tire pressure? Do I have an oil sticker? Did I reset the oil light? Did I top out the fluids? Did I tie in the drain plug? And I'm like, fuck, did I tie in the drain plug? And if I think for a second, did I tie in the drain plug? I'm putting that shit back on the fucking rack. I'm raising it up, and I'm making sure I tie in the drain plug.
That's
And
all
it doesn't
normal.
matter.
That's all normal.
But the problem is muscle memory. You get so used to brake jobs, boom, 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 tying it, boom, caliper, slap the road, lug nuts, ugga duggas, fucking torque it, boom, ship it, right? It's muscle memory. So I'm putting these bolts on, right? And muscle memory, I'm thinking I timed it, I'm thinking I'm torquing it. In reality, I didn't. And I posted a video on my YouTube, how to avoid comebacks. That's what the title is, right? What I did, I'm working on a BMW. I put on the rotor, I put on the caliper, put them down. Boss comes up to me. You know, like I'm talking to him, I'm putting the stuff on. Wag the wheel. Before I lower the vehicle, I check, right? I'm like, everything looks good. I test drive it and I almost parked it. And I was like, nope, check your fucking work, dude. Pull it in the bay, raise it up, caliper bolt loose. It's just
So
we get competent with our muscle memory, like, no, yeah, it's tight. And we get confident in that. And like I said, it takes doing something wrong 1,000 times before it actually fucks up. So I'm just
there's certain things that like you will, believe it or not, you'll develop different, like for me, I never will ever hit a caliper bracket bolt with a gun and ship it. I will always put a ratchet on it, always, even after I gunned it on. I
just to make
always
sure,
put
like,
a half
yeah,
inch ratchet and give it a crank to make sure that it's on. But believe it or not, I know where you are. I know where you're coming from. Eventually, your mind will ease up a little bit because you will learn certain things that like you will never back away from. Like you will always crank. Like I always put a half inch ratchet on a caliper bolt. Always,
just take it for lug nuts. I'll never
unless
like.
it's not a lot of room, I'll get a 3/8, and I will give it like a a hit to make sure it's on.
I
But
see it as a peace of mind. I see it as a piece of like just lug nuts, for instance. I'll never, never, ever ship a car out without. If I took that wheel off, it's being torqued. I'll never ever like shit. Did I torque that? Like I know for a fact without the slightest one, I know it's torqued. You know what I mean? Um, but there's times like shit. Did I torque that lug nut? And I don't know. I'll raise it back up and I'll go get my torque wrench and I was like, okay, they're tight. It's peace of mind. I don't want to be at home and it's happening. I'll be at home sleeping and I wake up like, fuck, did I tie in that one bolt?
and
You know,
that's nothing abnormal. That will
it's
never
not
go away. All
abnormal.
right, look,
I'm just
all
saying
right.
that just avoids comebacks. But gas
So,
versus diesels, if I
all
had
right,
to
so think
between
about it. I'll be right back. Think about that subject. I'll be right back, and let's talk about gas versus diesel.
yeah, renegade grass. So I've actually really actually started doing that. I remember Eric Rising has talked about that, especially on flex plate bolts. When I do transmission, I do a lot of transmissions. I swear, I at least do one transmission, minimum one transmission a month. Um, I remember I would always like, crap, did I time that? And I'll go through like 2 revolutions, 3 revolutions just to make sure everything was tight. But I've gotten to the point where, hey, I tighten it, torqued it, I mark it with the paint marker, go on to. I've done that over the last year and a half. I started doing that water pumps, valve covers. If I put my torque wrench in and I torque it, I mark it, it's torqued. Next one, torqued. And then without it, and I can simply look at every single bolt and know if it's marked, it's torqued, I'm good. It's just I don't know. I'm very, very, very like big on my repairs just because the way I got into this field because I was getting screwed over by mechanics. I don't want that to happen to other people, especially people bringing their cars to me. So I'm always like, hey, if you have a problem, you fucking call me and I will fucking fix it. Like I care too much about my name. I care too much about my work to have something wrong. I have a video coming up at the end of the month of a vehicle I did that catches fire. Like when I'm telling you, like the guy calls like, "Hey, bro, my car's on fire." Like I'm fucking shitting bricks. I can't fucking focus. I'm sitting here thinking like, "Fuck, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong?" Like I triple checked this. I checked this. I checked this. I checked this. Wait for the video. You'll see what happened. But that's just how I am mentally. That's how I got into this field because I don't want to fuck people over. I got fucked over, and I want to put the best quality out there. And it's how I'm wired, man. It's just I'm gonna
So
make sure my stuff's right. Like
so just
the oil pan. Like I was ready to tear that thing apart, like and do it right again, but it was a timing cover. So
hey, everything that you're saying, Davion, is no different than when I first started and how I felt and how I thought and how I always thought everything. Believe
but
it or
see,
not,
this is
I know it's hard to believe. If somebody had sat me in, 16 years ago and said, hey man, one day you're gonna ease up on stuff, but all good. It's in your own time. Just things will ease up a little bit. There are some things that you will still be anal as hell about, like lifting up a car. Like I still will, like I'm not even gonna lie, I still will turn the wheels and go get a ratchet and spend 7 extra minutes cranking down on a caliber bolt just to make sure I didn't make a mistake. But I also have a slight OCD, so that doesn't help because if I can't recall 100% of tightening that specific bolt, then in my head sometimes now I have sometimes lately, I'm not gonna lie, lately I've pulled the car out front and I actually got back in it to pull it back in the shop to go check something. And I thought, you know what? And I swear to God, I'm not lying to you. Sat in the driver's seat and I went, nope, nope. I know what I'm doing. I tightened it down. Walk away from the car, Tone. Walk away from the car. And I did. I walked away from the car and I slept fine. But no, but I still will lift up a car. I still will double check a drain plug, stuff like that. But dude, I finish a car. I test drive it. I pull it out front. I get it ready for the customer. And I still will pop the hood and I go through and I double check. I touch the drain plug, crank on the oil cap, the washer fluid cap, the power steering cap, and I kind of give everything like a little tighten just to make sure everything is on and tight. Because there are times where I do that and I find something. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad I freaking checked that. But believe it or not, it will ease up a little bit. That some of the OCD will ease up a little bit, believe it or not. Not all of it. And you'll probably still be slightly anal like me, because you sound a lot like me. And I still, after all these years, like I work with guys that like they're like, once I'm done with the car, fuck that, I'm done with it. That bitch is out front. I don't even care. But I, I'm human and I know I make mistakes, and every once in a while I catch my mistake. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm so glad I pulled that car in. I'm
that's
so
just
glad I double checked that. I'm so good. But believe it or not, you will not always double check and triple check everything. You will believe in yourself. It will just take time. And that's all. And it's just, but this is not me telling you to like tomorrow, forget about it. Like this is something that I'm
no.
just like telling you what's gonna happen, but it will take years of time and years of lots and lots and lots of vehicles. So that's all.
Oh yeah, I get it. I mean, it's just things mistakes happen when you get competent is how I feel. And that's just you gotta stay sharp is how I see it. You know what I
Gotta
mean?
stay sharp, but you're not always gonna double check out everything. But yeah,
I'm not saying I like okay, if I do a tune up, right, I'm not gonna double check oh crap, that I tying those coil packs tight, you know what I mean?
why not?
Um
It's no different than a lug nut.
kind of is. I
Well, what if
mean,
your boss walked up and talked to you while you were tightening him down? What if you forgot?
But that's what I get. You were saying like you're not
I'm just
always gonna
being the
double check. It's
devil's
like no,
advocate, dude.
I timed it, but
I'm just being the
it's
devil's
not
advocate. It's only a coil.
like so. Yeah, like
It's all
this is
about
not
the safety aspect. I know. I'm just
exactly.
joking.
This is not gonna cost the customer's life.
I
You know what
know.
I mean?
I know. I was just actually
uh,
just joking.
is
It's
this
just
car
like
gonna
a coil
overheat
pack.
on a customer and cause them to
It would
pull
be a
over on
check
a
engine
highway?
light, motherfucker, not the wheel falling off. I know. I was just actually just joking.
Okay, that's enough.
And I'm the same way. If it's shit like that, no, I'm not gonna double check that shit. I don't care. That's a fucking check engine light.
like
That
let's
should have popped.
just a quick mention before you talk about the gas versus diesel, like cooling system jobs. I worked at Toyota, and a lot of people like say they did a radiator or something like that. They'll run it, thermostat opens, fan opens, ship it. Like what? No, bro. Test drive that car. You don't know how this customer drives. Pressure builds, cars get hotter, a hose can pop off. You know what I mean? Like something can start leaking. Things like of that nature. Like you need to double check that stuff. You need to test drive it. You need to check it. Make sure it's good.
I test drive every car.
That's where a lot of people don't do that. They just all right, change the spark plugs, clear check engine light, change the water pump, thermostat open, fans on, ship it. Bro, you
Now,
didn't even
I
test
may
drive it.
only go like a 4 mile test drive, but I will test drive every car. It will probably only be like 4 or 5 miles, but I will test drive every car.
As for the gas versus diesel, if I had to choose between the two, I honestly think I choose diesels. If I can only work on gas or diesel, I honestly think I choose diesels, just because it's one of those things like not many people touch, and they're kind of complicated. Not complicated, there's just a lot of shit to do. You know what I mean? And it's just like, okay, take a valve cover on a 6.7 versus a valve cover on a freaking gas engine. One might pay 2 hours, the other one pays fucking 14 hours. Like, well, I'll do the 14 hour. Let's go. Let's see how
A
hard
valve
this
cover
is.
on a a Ford. Okay. I
Yeah,
think
you
come
know
at
what I mean?
a Cummins.
No, not it Cummins. That probably only pays like
I
3.
was like, is that?
So yeah, I think I would choose diesels, just because there's a lot of guys don't want to touch diesels. I mean, uh, they're a pain in the ass. They're fucking lifted and hard on the body, man. Like being in a certain position for so long and then
Oh,
getting
hard.
out of it, and you're like, oh shit. Um, but then again, you also get paid more to work on the diesels, so, or at least you should be. It's different from gas, so. But I guess we're already 2 hours in. Um, Favorite tool brand that's not on a tool truck.
You go first.
Uh,
Or
for
if you
me,
need a minute, I'll go first.
honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. Like I like Capri, man. I know some of the stuff is they definitely get it from like whoever makes the mains, like their wire strippers. Um, but almost all the Capri stuff I've had has been really good. The warranty is top notch. Like if I need something warranted, I get it within 3 days. You know, you get on a tool truck. There's been times where it takes 2, 3 months for me to get something warranted. It takes a minimum. If the tool truck doesn't have it, it at least takes you a week for you to get that tool. You know,
If
Capri
you're
has
lucky.
been, if you're lucky, you know,
If you're
um,
lucky.
if you're lucky.
At the
So yeah,
very best, it's like 2 weeks.
yeah. So I mean, Capri's very like, and they reply fast. The customer service is like on point. The only tool that I had that I did not like, and it was for the simple fact because I was limited of what I could use, was the air hammer. The air hammer, it was a hex shanks only. It was a good air hammer. It wasn't bad, um, but I was limited on the types of shanks I could use. Like they had to be
Oh,
hex only, you know. So I was like, well, this kind of sucks.
hex?
Yeah. So
That's
basically,
cool.
so the shank won't turn on you. Like
Oh, I've
say
never seen that before.
you want to pop off, a fan clutch, right? Sometimes you get the long ones, they kind of spin and you want it like straight or
Yeah.
whatever. So the hex is to prevent the shank from turning from any direction that you
Okay.
want it in. So it's nice, but it's just like, well, if you only have this many shanks, but I need this amount of shanks to do a certain amount of jobs, just like, well, it's kind of useless at that point.
Right.
So I would say Capri is a really good tool company.
What's your number 2?
Number 2, I would have to say, I guess it depends. If like you're going for like overall, like what you can get, I would say Gear Wrench. Gear Wrench does have a lot of options of tools you can get. Um, obviously not a tow truck brand. If it came down to sockets, I'd say Gray Pneumatic. Like Gray Pneumatic definitely has some of the best sockets out there. Period. Um, so I'd probably say Gear Wrench because Gear Wrench does have a wide variety of tools. Some of the tools I've used are kind of shitty, but a lot of the tools I have used have been really good. So, and then if there was a third, I don't know, because I mainly just have Capri, Gear Wrench, and Astro Pneumatic. Astro Pneumatic's a good company. They have specialty tools. They have regular tools. So Astro Pneumatic's a good tool company, man. I like their stuff. What about you?
My number 1 is Carbine Tools.
You like
No
Carbine?
shit. I have, and this is no shit. So I have just about every Torx that you can think of is Snap-on. Every single Torx I have is Snap-on, and every single hex I have is Matco. And so I have all Carbine tools. Everything I have is Carbine tools now, along with my Snap-on stuff, like side by side. I use my Carbine tools all the time. I have yet to use my Snap-on stuff. I actually took my Matco stuff off my cart, my Matco hex off my cart, to only use my Carbine tools. But I actually the Carbine tools, hex and Torx. Oh my god, it is. I've used it in so many videos because it is awesome. I love it. I've had zero problems, zero. I don't even know about their warranty process because I haven't had to use it. No, I know how it works, but I haven't had to use it only because I asked them. Because I ask everyone. I will never touch a tool without knowing how everything works. From how it works
Warranty.
now, or what if I have a problem. But no, so I literally do not touch my Snap-on stuff. My number 2, it's gonna be a toss up between Capri and Olsa tools. Probably Capri.
I think Capri has definitely a higher variety than Ulsa tools.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I would say Capri is my number 2, and I don't like Gray Pneumatic just because if you bought it from Amazon, you can't warranty it. So I don't like that aspect. I only own like a few. I bought like I think 4 magnetic sockets on Amazon, and they were all Gray Pneumatic. And then since then, I bought like a whole set of Sunex. So I don't use the Gray Pneumatic. They went in like in a drawer, and I don't touch them anymore. But
I don't like Sunex.
you don't like Sunex? Why?
No, man. I had too many bad experiences with Sunex. Starting out, I was having sockets shatter. I got the magnetic
Shatter?
sockets. Yeah, man, they were freaking crack, and one like actually exploded. And I was kind of glad I was wearing safety glasses. I was taking off a lug nut and using the impact, and this is like my first year, wrenching. For my independent dealer, I was like, hey, I need a good amount of sockets. What's the cheapest you got? He's like, oh, Sunex. He's like, I got a set of Sunex. I was like, cool, give me that. I'll buy that. And man, I had like 5 sockets like crack, and I was like, bro, these suck. Like, yeah, I was like, these suck.
Really?
And And then I had the magnet sockets. The magnets fell out, and then I had a couple of quarter inch sockets, and like they wouldn't like the actual where you put your whether you put an extension or the tool in the quarter inch, like they were
Your
just
drive.
so yeah, the drive, like it was just so loose. I was like, what else you got? Like this stuff sucks. And he's like,
Wow.
he's like, honestly, I never have any problems. He's like, I'm surprised you're having all these problems. I was just like, I don't know, man. Like, what else you got? And that's when I got into Grain-O-Matic, and Grain-O-Matic's good, man. They're
Wow.
I'd say they're, if not better, like top tier to Snap on.
So I actually, the way I came across Sunex was we had a Matco dealer, and I was like, a Mac dealer, and I was like, hey, I want to invest in some impact universal sockets. And he's like, all right. So he sold me. Hey, you made me yawn. Um,
Sorry,
that's
it's
all
like
good.
11 here.
He sold me a set of 3/8 impact wobbles, but they were Sunex. He's like, I'm not gonna sell you max sockets because they're the same as these other ones. So he sold me a set of Sunex, and I was like, okay, all right, I'll try them out. They were freaking awesome. So then I bought like a set of 3/8 deep wobble impact. Fuck yeah, no problem. Now, I did have the 17 millimeter. I had to warranty the 17 millimeter in the straight 3/8 wobble sockets probably like 4 times, but only because I use it for brakes and because of the angle, it just wore that socket out, right? So I had to warranty it like multiple times for brakes, whatever, not a big deal. A week, I had a new socket, whatever. And I love the 3/8 and the half inch and the 3/8 deep impact or deep wobble. I was like, hell yeah. Let me get the half-inch wobble. No problem whatsoever. Like I have had no shattered sockets. I've had uh, I've had my 17 crap out 3 times on my 3/8, and I think I had one deep 3/8 fail on me. Not fail, but like get where it wouldn't wobble
Worn out.
correctly. Um, and then I just recently I actually just bought the whole magnetic set from Sunex. And I actually just like brand spanking new this week, just bought the entire set of quarter drive universal magnetic sockets.
Nice.
Like that's brand spanking new. I haven't even used one yet. So it's like 5 to 15 millimeter of
Grain-O-Matics,
universal.
Grain-O-Matics suck. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like their magnetic wobbles. Um, but you know how many? Okay, I have yet to warranty a Grain-O-Matic socket. But you know how many times I've had to warranty Snap-on sockets, impact sockets? A lot.
I think that is a. So I will say this. I think it's a fluke. I think it's because I mean, think about it. Like think about the Sunex sockets you had that shattered, right? And I've had a bunch that have never shattered. I've only warranted any Sunex sockets because the universal part failed eventually after using it over and over and over again with like impact guns. I think it's just a fluke when shit fails. I mean, think about how many times you had a Sunex socket fail and never had one fail, or had a bunch fail, and might have failed in different ways. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just weird.
Well, see, like the Snap-on sockets, I've had to warranty my 10 millimeter like 5 times. The wobbles, I'm talking about the wobbles, impact. I've had to warranty the 17 millimeter 3 times, 15 millimeter like 8 times, uh,
Oh,
21
geez.
millimeter twice. And it's just like when I had my, like, it's just like I upgraded from Grain-O-Matic to Snap-on. And it's just like, I'm
I never
fucking
bought,
round.
never bought any tool truck wobbles ever.
I'm fucking rounding out fasteners with snap-on impact sockets and using a gray pneumatic to take that rounded out fastener off. So it's just like,
wow. So you're not holding the gun right, is what you're saying?
No, I'm saying not even. It's just like
oh, I'm just kidding.
okay, like I think I was doing an alternator, right? 15 millimeter, using my snap-on wobble, put it on there, and like I put it on there, I was taking it off, and then just start spinning. I'm like, what the hell? And like fastener's now rounded, so I'm like, crap. And I go get my green pneumatic 15 millimeter, put it on there, boom, takes it off. Save the day. Have had that happen with 10 millimeters numerous times. I think what it is, I don't know what material Snap-on's using, but I think now, like maybe the older stuff was good, but like the newer stuff, I think they're using a softer metal, and like whatever it is, it's just too soft that it's just wearing out way too fast.
Right.
And most of the reasons I've had to warranty them is just because they're worn out, not because they broke, not because they shattered. It's just they're worn out. You know, it's just like, bro, I put this on a 10 millimeter and it's like freaking loose as hell. So, but I gotta go. It's already 11:20.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks for everyone showing up.
Yeah, for sure.
I've never had a snap-on socket break. I just had them worn out Renegades. So but like I said, I've had to warranty a lot more. I've never had to warranty a green pneumatic, and I've warranted out snap-on a lot. So, but nice chatting with you, Tony. Thanks for everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, came in. Gotta do this again. Cheers.
Yeah, for sure.
Y'all stay safe, brother. And I'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, have a good night, brother.
You too.
All right, see you guys. Thank you for joining.